While I was filming the video on how to make double-sided PCBs, I realized something during the assembly phase. Soldering everything by hand was taking forever. I told myself, this will be so much easier with a stencil. But then I thought, wait, I can just make one, but how am I supposed to align it? And how do I place these tiny components without them sticking to my tweezers? Is there a way to create an auto-aligning stencil that is fast, cheap, and actually works? And is there a better way to place components with ease? In this video, I'm going to do some real research to answer those questions. And you definitely don't want to miss my upcoming video on the full double-sided PCB process. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. But I had to start somewhere. Generally, stencils are made from thin stainless steel sheets for several practical reasons. But I needed a material that was faster and easier to machine. I had some aluminum cards that laser well, but they were too small for extensive testing. However, I had a ton of black cardstock lying around. I know what you're thinking. There's a reason stencils are usually metal, but cardboard is cheap and accessible, so why not experiment? I lasered the first test, which took only 12 seconds. The result was promising, but it completely erased the thin lines between the chip pads. The power was likely too high. I wanted the stencil done in a single pass, but further tests were either too aggressive or not enough. I decided to take another route. Since the laser dot has a physical diameter and cellulose combustion expands the cut, I tried reducing the pad dimension in the software. I used the Etching Compensation tool in FlatCAM. It's designed to enlarge geometries to compensate for chemical under-etching, but if you enter a negative value, it does the exact opposite. I love making tools work in ways they were intended for. With these new parameters, it took just 8 seconds. A few pads were hanging by a thread, but that's easily fixed with tweezers or compressed air. The results were incredibly consistent. A first great success. Before moving to the alignment system, I had to see if the cardboard could survive solderPaste application. After setting up a test board with the same layout, it passed. Under the microscope, you can see that even with my best efforts, the paste isn't perfectly placed. This highlighted exactly why aligning a stencil by hand is so difficult. So how does the auto alignment work? The idea is ridiculously simple. A template is positioned externally to the stencil, perfectly in line with the design. Since the PCB has the exact same shape as the internal cutout of the template, you just drop the board into the rectangle, and the job is done. The theory is simple, but the execution must stay simple too. I designed an external rectangle to cut the board outline, then placed a sheet of cardboard on the backend table to act as a fixture plate for both the laser process and the later stenciling. Because the laser cut is always slightly larger than the design, I had to shrink the rectangle's dimensions slightly without changing its center coordinates. Luckily, the transformation tool handles this easily. After some testing, I found that subtracting 0.2 mm from both X and Y created a snug fit with no gaps. I tested this with 2 boards coated in opaque white spray paint, which will also act as my solder mask. After placing them in the fixture, I lasered the design for my upcoming double-sided PCB project. Once etched, I checked them under the microscope. The alignment was spot on, meaning the cardboard fixture hadn't shifted at all. Finally, I glued a new piece of cardboard onto the fixture and lasered the stencil design. Now I can simply insert the board and the pads align perfectly in an instant. Now for the moment we've been waiting for. I turned on the vacuum to hold everything in place and applied the solder paste. It feels very promising, even if I could have used a bit more force to fill the chip pads better. Looking under the microscope, the precision is impressive. Honestly, I could never align a stencil this fast or this accurately by hand. I placed a few components and put the board in the oven. It's just a standard small electric oven. I'm controlling the temperature manually to match the solder profile using a thermistor for feedback. It's a bit tricky. Which is why in my next video I'm building a board to automate this entire process. The results look good. The 0603 components are well soldered, and the chip pins are nicely fixed after a tiny bit of adjustment. This video could end here, but I still have 2 problems to solve. First, can I apply paste and solder components of both sides of the board? Second, I'm tired of using tweezers that make tiny SMD parts stick to the tips and are impossible to rotate. The answer to the second problem is a vacuum pen. These use suction to pick up components, just like industrial pick-and-place machines. The ones I found online were either hard to rotate or took too long to ship. Since I love building things from recycled parts, I decided to make my own. First, I needed a pen body that allows for easy tip changes, and I found the perfect candidate: a cartridge from an erasable pen. Then I needed a motor to generate the vacuum. I first tried some motor from a project I built a few years ago for spray etching. Even though that project didn't go very well, the motors were still electrically functional. Unfortunately, I discovered the internal membranes were completely destroyed. I also tried modifying an aquarium pump after studying how it works, but it proved to be too weak for my purposes. I didn't give up, and eventually I salvaged a small motor from a broken blood pressure monitor. Its air intakes are located on the bottom, so I 3D printed a custom cylinder to house it. I installed a small pipe connector on the top and sealed every micro hole with superglue. Then I drilled a hole for the motor wires and sealed that with more superglue, using a zip tie to prevent the wires from moving around and creating leaks. After applying some glue to the plastic frame, I used my milling machine vise to press the motor into the cylinder. I attached the pipe to the connector and joined the pen frame to the other end. Time for a test. I connected the motor to a LiPo battery and tried to pick up a lead pellet. At 5V, it consumed just over 1 watt. Super efficient, I would say. Now I needed a way to control it. Since it's a brushed motor, I want to preserve its life as much as possible. So I opted for a switch to turn it on only when needed. I wanted this switch to be very easy to press, so I took a brass shim and cut 2 pieces to create an electrical contact when squeezed. Since the motor draws no more than 300 mA, this simple DIY switch is perfectly suitable. To avoid oxidation and ensure a reliable contact, I added some tin to them before gluing them into place. For the power supply, I started with a 6V unit, soldered the wires and did some quick cable management. It worked. However, there was a small problem. The sealing was so good that even when the motor was turned off, the pen wouldn't release the lead pellet. To fix this, I drilled a 0.8mm air vent. It had to be small enough so the motor could still maintain a vacuum, but large enough to let the component drop. Now the problem is drastically reduced. Testing it with the SMD components, it performed great. I could easily pick up microchips and 0603 resistors, though the tip was a bit too large for the radar. Interestingly, if I insert the same tip the other way around, it can rotate. This also allows me to attach different sized needles. But will this still work with this modification? Well, yes. I can now rotate components with incredible ease. However, I realized that I hate cables. My craziness led me to make it even more compact and battery powered. I had 2 small 450 mA LiPo batteries lying around that I wanted to recycle. They output 3.8V on average, and I hoped the motor would still run at this lower voltage. I removed the pipe, cut the wires, and soldered a proper connector. To keep things simple, I used Velcro to attach and detach the batteries. I drilled a hole matching the pen cylinder's diameter, pressed it inside, and remade all the connections. The battery can be strapped on like this, and even if the motor sounds a bit underpowered, the lower voltage has its advantages: lower power consumption and lower RPMs, which means the motor brushes will last much longer. I made 2 needle adapters that can be interchanged instantly. The smaller needle lifts tiny components, while the larger one handles the bigger ones, and both allow for incredibly easy rotation. Now for the real challenge. How do I apply solderPaste to the second side when the first side is already populated? This is far from trivial. The stencil might bend, or worse, the components already on the board could get crushed or misaligned, turning the whole assembly into a disaster. My first thought was to use cardboard shims glued to the stencil. It seemed to work, but the vacuum system ended up sucking up the excess solderPaste, making a mess. Plus, if the shims aren't perfectly calibrated, the stencil bends, losing all accuracy. Also, creating custom shims for every single board shape is a massive waste of time. I then considered a wooden vise, but it was unnecessarily complex. Then I realized the simple solution: blue tack. After fixing the board into the alignment template, I placed small pieces of blue tack on the corners and a few in the center to prevent the board from bending under the squeegee pressure. After applying the paste, the stencil lifted easily. The result was solid. Because I wasn't using the vacuum plate this time, the paste spread slightly more than usual, or maybe I just applied a bit too much. But it was definitely workable. This was the perfect chance to put the vacuum pen to the test. To be honest, it performed brilliantly. I've never placed any SMD components this fast. The ability to rotate the tip on the fly is incredibly satisfying. To reflow the second side, I had to elevate the board slightly, so the components at the bottom wouldn't touch the oven rack. I used aluminum bars for this, but I noticed a few spots on the right side didn't fully reflow. I suspect two reasons: the thermal mass of that aluminum bar acting as a heatsink and the lack of air circulation inside the oven. Even so, under the microscope the 0603 components were nicely soldered. The microchip pad, just like before, required a tiny bit of manual adjustment, but overall it was a success. Will this solution work for every project? Well, the only way to find out is to stay tuned and subscribe to Janjix. Jokes aside, I believe this is one of the fastest and cheapest ways to produce professional grade stencils at home. While this specific alignment process is tailored for custom-made PCBs, you could certainly adapt it for manufactured boards, though the fixture might require a bit more creative engineering. There is still a lot of room for improvement, but considering the cost and the precision achieved, I honestly couldn't expect a better result for a DIY setup. If you have ideas on how to further improve the stencil alignment or the vacuum pan, let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to hear your take on this. And if you found these hacks useful, leave a like to support the research. It really helps the channel grow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video for the full double-sided PCB process. Bye!